Were you often praised for being so mature for your age as a child? It might have felt good to hear. It might have made you feel special, capable, and needed. But that compliment, often given with the best intentions, may hold the key to understanding your relationship struggles today. If you find yourself consistently being the responsible one, the planner, the emotional manager in your partnerships, you are not alone. This isn't a flaw in your personality, it's a pattern, a learned way of connecting that often begins in childhood. This pattern has a name, parentification, and it profoundly shapes how you show up in your adult relationships. It's important to know that what you are experiencing is a common adaptive strategy. When a child is put in a position where they have to take on adult roles too soon, they learn to cope by becoming hyper-competent. You learned that your value came from what you could do for others. You learned that being needed was a form of safety. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding the blueprint you were given for relationships. Today, we'll explore how being the little adult in your family of origin impacts your search for a balanced, reciprocal love life. We will break down this pattern, see how it shows up in subtle ways, and discuss gentle ways to create more space for yourself in your connections. So what exactly is the parentification loop? It begins when a child takes on responsibilities that are not age-appropriate. This can happen in two main ways. The first is instrumental parentification, which involves practical, tangible duties. For instance, this could be managing household finances, cooking all the meals, or caring for younger siblings in a way that goes beyond typical chores. The child essentially becomes a co-manager of the household, their own childhood needs taking a back seat to the functional needs of the family. The second, and often more subtle form, is emotional parentification. This is when a child becomes the confidant, the mediator, or the emotional support system for a parent or caregiver. They listen to adult problems, offer comfort, and learn to regulate their own feelings to avoid burdening an already stressed adult. They become a tiny therapist, their main role being to keep the parent emotionally stable. In both cases, the child's core needs for play, dependency, and unstructured development are set aside. They learn a fundamental equation. My needs are secondary to the needs of others. To be loved and secure, I must be useful and responsible. This early training creates a hyper-independent identity. The child grows into an adult who is incredibly capable, self-reliant, and often very successful. They pride themselves on not needing anyone. But this identity was forged out of necessity, not choice. It's a suit of armor that was once protective, but is now heavy and isolating. When this adult enters a romantic relationship, their internal system instinctively searches for what is familiar. It seeks to recreate the dynamic where they are the overfunctioner. They are drawn to partners who need help, or they unconsciously shape the relationship so that their partner relies on them heavily. This is the completion of the loop. The parentified child becomes the parentifying partner, continuing a cycle where they give much more than they receive, because caretaking is the only way they truly know how to love. One of the most common ways this pattern manifests is through something we can call the competency trap. Because you are so capable, responsible, and skilled at managing things, you naturally attract people who are comfortable being taken care of. This is not necessarily a malicious act on their part. They see someone who is excellent at handling life, and it feels safe and reassuring to them. The dynamic feels comfortable for you at first, too. It's a role you know how to play perfectly. You anticipate their needs, solve their problems, and manage the emotional temperature of the relationship. It feels like you're being a good partner. However, over time, a deep imbalance settles in. You become the designated grown-up, and your partner slips into the role of the one who is cared for. This can lead to resentment building beneath the surface. You may feel exhausted, unappreciated, and alone, even while you are with someone. You might wonder why you always have to be the strong one. The trap is that your very competence prevents you from experiencing true partnership. A partnership requires interdependence, where both people can be strong and both can be vulnerable. In the competency trap, your strength leaves no room for your own needs or for your partner to step up and care for you in a meaningful way. This leads us to a second and deeply personal challenge for the formerly parentified person, a profound difficulty with receiving. On the surface, this might seem strange. Who wouldn't want to receive help, support, or affection? But for someone whose identity is built on being the giver, receiving can feel deeply uncomfortable, even threatening. Accepting a favor can trigger a sense of obligation, a frantic need to repay the kindness immediately to restore the familiar balance of you being the provider. Accepting a compliment might feel awkward, as if it's unearned, because your worth is tied to your actions, not your inherent qualities. Receiving genuine care can be the most difficult thing of all. Allowing a partner to support you when you are sad, sick, or struggling requires vulnerability. It means taking off that heavy armor of hyper-independence. For the parentified adult, vulnerability can feel like a dangerous failure. It goes against the core survival rule learned in childhood. I must be the one who has it all together. This is why you might push away help, minimize your own problems, or pivot the conversation back to your partner's needs when they try to focus on you. Learning to receive is not about becoming needy. It's about accepting the other half of a relationship, the part where you are cared for, seen, and supported just for being you. The third, and perhaps most crucial insight, is understanding the tendency to confuse caretaking with love. A person with a history of parentification often enters a relationship with an unconscious belief: to be loved, I must be indispensable. Their value is not in who they are, but in what they do for their partner. They become the master problem solver, the tireless cheerleader, and the ever-present emotional support system. They believe that if they stop doing all of these things, their partner will lose interest or leave. Love feels conditional, earned through constant effort and service. This creates a dynamic where you are constantly performing for love. You might feel a low-level anxiety when things are going too smoothly, because your role as the fixer is temporarily obsolete. You might even unconsciously provoke small problems just so you can solve them, reaffirming your usefulness. This is a painful and exhausting way to live. True intimacy is not based on utility. It is based on mutual recognition and acceptance. It's the feeling of being valued for your presence, not your performance.
It's a common myth that being the responsible one automatically makes you a better partner. The truth is, it can make you a very giving and reliable person, but it can also prevent the balance required for a truly healthy connection. An example of the old pattern might be, your partner mentions they are stressed at work. Your immediate reaction is to jump into action. You spend the evening researching solutions to their work problem. You draft an email for them, and you take on all the household chores to free up their time. You were trying to manage their stress for them. A healthier dynamic, after recognizing this pattern, might look different. Your partner mentions they're stressed at work. You listen attentively. You validate their feelings, saying something like, "That sounds really difficult. I'm sorry you're going through that." You then ask, what kind of support would feel good to you right now? You trust them to manage their own career, while you offer presence and emotional connection, not solutions. You focus on supporting them, not rescuing them. This shift is small, but it's the difference between being a caretaker and being a partner. So, how can you begin to shift this deeply ingrained pattern? It starts with small, intentional practices. The first is learning to set boundaries that separate emotional support from taking on someone else's problem. A simple but powerful phrase you can use is, "I can't take that on right now, but I'm here to listen." This statement does two critical things. First, it compassionately affirms your partner's struggle. You are not dismissing them. You are offering your presence, which is a profound gift. Second, it clearly defines the limit of your involvement. You are not picking up their burden to carry as your own. This protects your energy and prevents the slide into overfunctioning. Using this phrase helps you practice a different kind of support, one based on connection, not on solving. The second safe practice is what we can call the micro practice of receiving. Since receiving can feel so uncomfortable, it's best to start small. The goal is to build your capacity for it, like strengthening a muscle. Start by consciously allowing someone to do a small, low-stakes favor for you. For instance, if a coworker offers to buy you a coffee, your instinct might be to refuse or to immediately say, "I'll get the next one." Instead, try to simply say, "Thank you, I'd love that," and then stop. Do not immediately reciprocate. Just sit with the feeling of having received something freely given. Notice the sensations in your body. Do you feel guilty? Anxious? Indebted? Just observe these feelings without judgment. They are simply the echo of an old pattern. You can practice this in many ways. Let a friend carry your bag for a minute. Let your partner cook a meal without you overseeing it. Accept a compliment with a simple "thank you" without deflecting it. Each of these small moments is an act of rewiring your nervous system. You are teaching yourself, one tiny experience at a time, that it is safe to receive. You are learning that your value does not decrease when you are not the one giving. The journey out of the parentification loop is a process of relearning your own worth. It's about understanding that your value as a person is not and has never been defined by your usefulness to others. You were worthy of love and care as a child, even on the days you couldn't be mature or responsible. And you are worthy of that same love and care as an adult. True partnership is not about one person being the perpetual caregiver and the other the recipient. It is a dance of mutual support, where both people can be strong and both can be soft. It is a space where you are allowed to have needs, to feel tired, and to be taken care of too. Moving toward this kind of balanced love requires courage. It requires the courage to set boundaries, the courage to feel the discomfort of receiving, and the courage to believe you are enough, just as you are. It's about gently placing the heavy weight of responsibility down and learning to share the load. It's about finally giving yourself the permission you were never given as a child, the permission to simply be, rather than to constantly do. As you reflect on your own relationships, perhaps you can consider this question. What is one small way you could allow yourself to be supported this week?